Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video, the word that seems to get everyone's blood pulsing, and that word is reprints. In particular, of course, we're going to look at the newest block of Pokemon cards, which is Scarlet and Violet era. Reprints, what has been reprinted, maybe what's possibly scheduled to be reprinted, how is that going to affect the market, how is that going to affect your investment, and delve right into it. So that's what today's video is all about. Before we do jump into that famous word reprints, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. And if you want to join up as a channel member, that would be awesome. It gains you some badges when you comment, and also it allows you to shoot me any Pokemon investing related email and I'll get back to you in a timely manner. The second thing I wanted to talk about before we jump into the video around reprints is I wanted to give a little apology to everyone. And the apology is in regards to, I suppose, my IT capabilities. Like probably most people, I watch a fair few other people's Pokemon investing channels, and they're so much more flashy and exciting than what mine are. I had really good IT skills in primary school. I was great at word art, and I was fantastic at Age of Empires. That was one hell of a game that I had some serious skill on. In fact, we used to be able to pull it from Nutrigrain cereal packets here in Australia at no cost. It just came with the Nutrigrain packet. Thumbs up if you remember playing a bit of Age of Empires when you were younger. Anyway, my computer skills have probably got progressively worse as I've got older. So most of my videos, I literally sit in front of the camera and do in one take. I don't have any edits. I don't have any cuts. And it's not because I don't want to. It's probably a factor for two reasons. One, I'm really time poor. And two, my IT skills probably aren't giving me the capability to do that. Hey, there's probably some people in their early to mid 30s like me that are really capable. And then there's probably some other people that can relate to me where you used to be great on computers and IT when you were younger. And now you're just like, it's getting harder. So I apologize. My videos don't have all the flashy edits inside them. But anyway, on to the topic at hand. Reprints. Like I said, this is the one word that seems to get people's blood pumping, really, doesn't it? So let's talk through a couple of things when it comes to reprints. And I'm not going to talk about the two holiday sets, Paldean Fates and English 151. English 151 has already had a very small reprint. I'm going to talk about the main set. So SV1 right through to the current set, which is Twilight Masquerade. So the sets that we can get booster boxes from. Because the trend seems to be with holiday sets, and we've seen it already with Crown Zenith, you know, the amount of stock that comes on the market, because you can't get a booster box. And if you can't get a booster box, it means you can't get 36 Pokemon card packs. And that's a really dense product. You're squeezing 36 packs of 11 cards inside to a very small box. When you're in a holiday set and all you can sell is Elite Trainer boxes with 9 packs inside them, maybe a collection box at most, which might get lucky and have 11 packs inside it, but a lot of other, you know, promo packs or boxes that have 5 or 6, or booster bundles that have 6 packs inside it, you've got to produce so much product to be able to move the holiday sets. When it comes to booster box sets, you know, reprinting a booster box is giving you a larger density of packs, if that makes sense. So that's what I wanted to focus on. And from an investing standpoint, I advocate booster boxes more than anything else. So that's why I wanted to look at those. So if we look across the Scarlet and Violet era, let's start with Scarlet and Violet base. Now, that's been out for quite some time now. It's probably been out longer than a lot of most people. Most people are thinking, oh, Scarlet and Violet, yeah, that came out 9 months ago. No, it's been out for ages now. In fact, last October, so October 2023, there were 3 main Pokemon card sets that got a reprint. 2 of them from Sword and Shield era and 1 of them from Scarlet and Violet. We had a reprint for Silver Tempest, we had a reprint for Lost Origin, and we also had a reprint for Scarlet and Violet base. It's probably the reason base set Scarlet and Violet booster boxes are still fairly and readily abundant, and they're still at or below retail price. If we move forward to a set like Paldea Evolved, we haven't had a reprint yet for Paldea Evolved. Now, Paldea Evolved is probably the one booster box which is really bucking the trend in terms of pricing compared to some of the other ones from Scarlet and Violet. As in, you know, it's pumped up in price. It's not one you can buy cheap. Now, every country's different. We're quite lucky in Australia. I've heard in the US, you know, you guys really can't get one maybe below sort of 120 to 130. Whereas in Australia, we can buy them for 150 Australian. Currently, if you're an Aussie, they're on sale on Gameology. You can apply a voucher to it and get it for $147.95. Excludes shipping though. What's shipping? $5. But if you buy multiple, $10, maybe it's $10, $8. I don't know, whatever it is. Buy multiple and then a dollar cost average. Buy 8 of them and it costs $1 per box to ship them. Anyway, we're very lucky there because if you convert that to US dollars, it's like 95 to 100 US bucks to buy a Powder Evolved booster box here in Australia at the moment, and that's good news. That is very good news. Same thing happened with Fusion Strike before it moved up. We could still buy Fusion Strike for relatively cheap when you guys in the US. So what I'm getting at is every market's a little bit different. And speaking about different markets, I did hear I know I'm going a tiny bit off course here with the booster box and Powder Evolved, but I did hear in Europe that English 151 is open to distribution. So people with distributors can pick it up and take pre-orders on it. So it must mean that it's coming back in stock over there for you guys, or there's a reprint. So different markets have different different allocations. So anyway, Powder Evolved has yet to pick up a reprint. And it's probably the one booster box that's starting to dry out a little bit. We're starting to see less and less supply in the market. The chase for the Magikarp is still really, really strong. We know that that's a difficult card to grade and it's pulling pretty high PSA 10 prices. Or if you can happen to buy raw and grade to PSA, the multiplication effect you're going to get from doing that, the raw price to the PSA 10 price is quite a jump, which means it's a difficult card to grade. In comparison, a lot of Japanese cards have 90% hit rates for getting PSA 10s, which means your raw price is so close to your PSA 10 price. It really doesn't make much of a difference. So that card is yet to cop a reprint. That set is yet to cop a reprint. And who knows? I'm going to get to what reprints could possibly be coming in the future. The next one, though, Obsidian Flames, same thing. That set is yet to cop a reprint. Is it the best set? No. Is it stronger than Darkness Ablaze? Yes. Will it go up in price? Eventually. Next set, of course, is, what do we go to next? Paradox Rift, didn't we? S&V, the main set 4. Paradox Rift, same thing, is yet to pick up a reprint. And next one on the list was Temporal Forces. It feels like only yesterday that Temporal Forces come out. Again, yet to pick up a reprint. I know it's just come out, but yet to pick up a reprint. Now, with Temporal Forces, we start to see this shift into more difficult chase cards, or in other words, higher pull rates for special illustration rares. Now, the flow-on effect for having higher or harder pull rates is that your hits will retain more value. So rather than having your top hit, like in S&V base, worth $30 or $40 or whatever it's worth, your top hits are pushing $80, $100 because they're harder to pull. If they're twice as hard to pull, sometimes you could argue they're probably going to hold, twice the value on the raw market. And generally, if your top hits are holding value, there's a real correlation to how that pushes up the booster box price in the future. Look at Evolving Skies. It's a bit of a double-edged sword because you could open Evolving Skies booster box and pull nothing except a few V cards and feel completely ripped off. But then if you happen to pull one of the top chase cards from that, whether it's the Rayquaza VMAX, the Umbreon VMAX, even something like a Dragonite V or the Glaceon VMAX, you're getting, in some cases, if it's the Umbreon, the full value of the booster box back. So there's these real intricacies around both pull rates for SIRs or alternate arts when we're talking Sword and Shield era, and what value that, or the relationship with the value it pulls up the booster box for. And also, again, with something like the Magikarp from Powder Evolved, that relationship between how difficult that card is to then grade a 10 and what multiplication effect that'll get you if you grade a 10. All those things, believe it or not, have quite a bit to do with the booster box price. And again, finally, the final booster box from Scarlet and Violet era is Twilight Masquerade. And of course, we get to see a reprint on that set. It's only just come out. It's following the same trend as Temporal Forces in that pull rates are a lot harder than the earlier S&V special illustration rares to pull. As a result, we've seen that Greninja, which is one of my favourite special illustration rares. I did a list on this. It ranks number 2 for me so far. Alakazam for 151 is just my favourite. Love that card. Absolutely love it. And the Greninja, when I first saw it, I was a bit, and the more I looked at it, I went, you know what, this is a fantastic looking card. It's been pumped up to the moon lately. I don't know what its value is at the moment. It's got to be north of probably, it's got to be pushing $200 US. I haven't even checked it, but it probably is. Does it deserve it? well, it's every bit as hard to pull as an alternate art by what the sort of pull rates are telling. So same thing, that seems to be pulling up the price of a Twilight Masquerade booster box so far. And I've heard from a distribution level, they're also starting to thin out a little bit more, like a lot more than what Paradox Rift is, even though Paradox Rift's been out for quite some time compared to Twilight Masquerade. So on that, okay, we've had base reprint, and every other main set from Scarlet and Violet so far is yet to cop a reprint. What does that mean? Will any of them get reprinted? The short answer is no one has a crystal ball. That information doesn't get leaked. The only time we'll know about it is when distributors say, hey, look, put in your orders. Whether it's local LGSs, online stores, put in your orders. We're going to give you an allocation of stock now. We don't know until that happens, and that hasn't happened yet. So the other thing to keep in mind, though, is quite often that reprint window, like if we look at the last booster box reprint, which was 3 sets, Silver Tempest, Lost Origin, and Scarlet and Violet base. So the last 3 booster box sets, it happened in October last year. And we're getting pretty damn close to that September, October region where we're likely to get, indicators that a reprint's going to happen. Could it be Paldea Evolved, Obsidian Flames, and Paradox Rift, that all 3 of them get reprints? Possibly. We don't know. You've got to remember as well that throughout Sword and Shield era, although it could well have been affected by sort of COVID times and everything else, Rebel Clash didn't get a reprint. So it could ring very true that one of these sets that I've just spoken about might not get a booster box reprint. If that happens, for argument's sake, if Paldea Evolved doesn't get reprinted, what's going to happen to box prices? It's already proved it can start to move up. I can tell you now, it's going to move up even more than what it already has. It's a pretty solid set. Isn't it Evolving Skies? No. Is it as good as Chilling Reign? In my opinion, also no. Is it the best main set so far from Scarlet and Violet? Most likely. Some people are saying, there's a lot of love being thrown towards Twilight Masquerade now. Personally, I think it's getting, people are jumping on that Greninja train pretty quickly. I think Paldea Evolved has more depth of chase cards. Yes, the number 1 chase doesn't seem quite as strong as Greninja, but we probably should let that set settle in a little bit. So where does that leave you when it comes to parking some money? A couple of things can happen there, and I've used this argument a few times. You can buy in as low as you can and hedge your bets and maybe hope one of those sets doesn't get reprinted, and you've got in super low, because if Paldea Evolved doesn't get reprinted, it could shoot up quite quickly. If it doesn't get reprinted this September, October, then another 6 months passes and another 9 months passes, and people go, hold on. We get to that Evolving Skies scenario, everyone's like, it's going to cop a big reprint, going to cop a big reprint, and it just doesn't. And then it just creeps up and creeps up and creeps up. And before you know it, you've missed the train for it. So you could do that way, or you could hold out until a set is really close to the end of rotation and the likelihood of it possibly ever getting reprinted is super, super small. And even if you have to pay that little bit of extra premium to buy into it, you're willing to, because you sort of, you've doubled down a little bit knowing that it's not going to get reprinted. So on my take on it, I think there's every chance that one of these early Scarlet and Violet sets don't get reprinted. I really wouldn't be surprised though if we see a couple of booster box reprints this September, October. You got to remember though, consumer spending is down a little bit. There's so much stock or supply still at a distribution level. You can still pick up Temporal Forces, of course. You can still pick up, there's heaps of Paradox Rift around. There's heaps of Obsidian Flames around. You can still pick up those booster boxes. So, if it's clogged up here, will Pokemon Company International print more and just flood more onto the market to distributors that can't even move it down to stores? Like, does that make a lot of sense? If they can't move the current stock they've got, like that whole supply chain needs to really be looked at. And, the Pokemon Company International is incredibly, incredibly clever at working out that flow chart, the flow of how Pokemon cards and products get distributed. They're not going to make mistakes on it and stuff it up. So my take on it is I really wouldn't be surprised if some sets don't cop a reprint from Scarlet and Violet. And also we've got some really exciting sets to look out for. I'm Michael, this is PokeOz, and I'll catch everyone next time.